Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Malicious Compliance. In today's episode, wants me to work overtime but won't pay for it. You demand that we honor your reservation? Sure thing. No phones, alright. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Wants me to work overtime but won't pay for it. I am in the midst of leaving a truly terrible job. I have only been there for a year, but began noticing issues after the first month. Now, this is in healthcare and we work with very vulnerable people, and I have seen some horrendous ethical issues and lack of competency among employees and my employer. Example, permitting clinicians to perform tasks they are not trained in, recommending treatments that are basically pseudoscience. Not to mention my employer has no respect for boundaries or work-life balance, which are essential in this field if you want to avoid burnout, and has horrible work-life balance, time management, and organizational skills themselves, leading them to be behind on all work constantly with over 2,000 emails sitting in their inbox. This also resulted in much of my work being delayed and clients getting upset that they are waiting for things that the employer needs to do. Because of this incompetence, I get constant emails and texts asking me to work on off days, or my employer texting at 8 p.m. or 7 a.m. and expecting a reply. I have set very clear boundaries from the start that I don't work outside my hours, and have also raised concerns about the ethics/competency issues, which resulted in my employer becoming defensive and emotional, and changing nothing. Since giving my notice, the employer has been pushing boundaries even more. So, being the compliant human that I am, and because I do need to wrap up things that I have been waiting for my employer to get to for months, I began responding and including every single work-related communication outside of my hours, or requests for a small task that I need to complete on an off day as hours worked, and have banked up some nice overtime. Last week, the employer sent an email saying that I am no longer allowed to work overtime and every hour worked OT will be banked as vacation time instead. I don't want that, because if I am working OT, I deserve to be paid for it. So I immediately stopped responding to anything after hours or on off days, and have been working only 8 hours on my scheduled days. The frustration and passive aggression coming from my employer since I did that is unmatched. Truly, they should get an award for the snarky and condescending emails and texts they have sent me. I only have a few days left and will be filing an ethics complaint for the many egregious things I have seen once I am out of there. It's what they deserve, and I can't wait. Edit, thanks for all of the advice. I am not in the US, but will be looking into my legal and labor options. For those who asked why I didn't report my employer earlier, it is really difficult to see any actual consequences from my ethics board without solid evidence, which I did not have until recently, also why I am now quitting. I don't want to blow my chances to hold them accountable for all the terrible things they have done, but even with my evidence I don't have a lot of hope that they will be punished by the board. Every hour worked OT will be banked as vacation time instead. Save that email, and when it happens, file a wage complaint with the Department of Labor. This isn't just run-of-the-mill wage theft. It's likely a violation of the Fair Labor Standards Act. I didn't even think about that part. Thanks. Adding it to the arsenal. I don't even understand what they think they're gaining by paying for OT with vacation time since OP has already given notice and they're just going to have to pay out the accrued vacation on separation anyway. Edit, I guess mandatory vacation payout is only required in about half of US states. Which is ridiculous. File for unemployment. You might get it if you have your proof in order. I have another job lined up, so I'm good. It's at a practice with competent humans who respect boundaries and work-life balance. Shocking that those exist/s. I only have a few days left and will be filing an ethics complaint for the many egregious things I have seen once I am out of there. It's what they deserve, and I can't wait. On behalf of everyone affected, thank you. You may have a case for retribution as well, and keep a lawyer around for whistleblowing. Good luck. No, how dare you wanna not be at my beck and call 24/7. If I email you, you should be grateful that I'm communicating with you. What do you mean overtime pay? No, that's not a thing. Comment shocked Pikachu face when having to pay OT and possibly fines. You demand that we honor your reservation? Sure thing. A few years back, I worked at one of the big car rentals in a rather small city in Germany. We had two offices, one in the outskirts with quite a sizable lot and a very small one at the train station, for official parking spots in front of the office, about 6 parking spots at the other end of the train station at the staff parking lot we used to not get into trouble for using parking spots we didn't pay for. That one was a bit of a prestige thing because it enabled us to serve our business customers right when they got off the train. Both offices worked closely together, even sharing a vehicle pool within the booking software, and we were expected to move the cars around accordingly. The business at the station at the train station followed a pattern that would repeat every week. Every Monday, business customers would arrive by train, pick up their car to get to their clients during the week and drop them off by the end of the week to leave by train again. Most would drop the car off on Thursday. One week, we could already see disaster approaching by the middle of the previous week. Due to some error in the booking software and some cars spontaneously not returning to our offices, our carpool stood at -60 for Monday at the train station office. See, that's not unusual on a Monday. The problem was that overall, our shared carpool stood at -15. Since we are quite small and only a franchise of the car rental company, there was no way we would get extra cars from bigger stations, so we started trying to reach out to business customers to inform them that we most likely couldn't serve all reservations and if we could maybe cancel on them. Some understood while some insisted, and even more were not available when we tried to contact them. On Friday, my supervisor asked me if I could cover the shift at the train station office on Monday because she knew the colleague who was supposed to would mentally break if yelled at by customers. I knew it would be hell, but knowing that she would have the morning shift at the main office, we were sure we could make it work somehow. I asked to also work on Sunday at the train station office to make sure all cars were ready for the next day since we had around 70 reservations between 6 a.m. and 11 a.m. that day. So I worked my Sunday shift, got everything prepared as far as I could and went home. On Monday, we opened at 6 a.m. I got in at 5:30 like always and there was already a small line queued up in front of the door. I told them we don't open until 6 and they accepted it. Everything went sort of smoothly until about 8:30 a.m. All my cars were gone and I received a somewhat steady supply of cars from the main office until then. I constantly kept my supervisor updated with a list of my reservations and which cars from the main office I'd like to have for that, and she tried to make it work. Then she calls me to tell me that she is also out of cars due to some having to be off-fleeted due to mileage or simply not returning. I knew everything would go to shambles after that and mentally prepared for it. I started telling customers that we couldn't possibly serve their reservations. Most understood due to the fact that I didn't have any cars in front of my office, but a few insisted that they get their cars. Cue malicious compliance. I called my supervisor and told her that some clients insisted on getting a move on. Now and no matter how. After some short venting on her side, we came up with an idea. We might not have any cars anymore but had an incredible excess of moving vans, Mercedes Sprinter, VW Crafter and such, that we didn't really need any of. Now, the train station office isn't supposed to rent out vans, but we found a workaround for that. The transfer drivers had a company car that could be rented out, so I checked it in at my station, created the rental agreement with that, switched my view to the main office and initiated a vehicle switch. All without ever having a physical car at my station. So the rental agreement was completed and the transfer drivers started bringing our white company branded moving vans down to my office. I even told one especially insistent customer that I was able to fulfill his wish for an automatic transmission diesel. I will never forget the look on the face of this suit wearer when he realized he will be driving in a moving van to his client. The train station office satisfaction rating took quite the beating after this, but we didn't really care about that since we rarely got bonuses down there anyway. Jerry Seinfeld, I don't understand. Do you have my reservation? Rental car agent, we have your reservation, we just ran out of cars. Jerry, but the reservation keeps the car here. That's why you have the reservation. Rental car agent, I think I know why we have reservations. Jerry, I don't think you do. You see, you know how to take the reservation, you just don't know how to hold the reservation. And that's really the most important part of the reservation, the holding. Anybody can just take them. I am a non-confrontational person, so if a rental car company tells me they have no cars, I'll accept that and start trying to figure out an alternative solution. I'll probably never rent from them again due to their poor planning, but I'm not going to argue with them. You can't magically create a car if you don't have one. However, if I later found out that they did in fact have vans available and rented those out to customers who insisted after telling me they had nothing, I'd be enraged. Would have been a nice touch to tell the customers that they're getting an upgrade for a bigger vehicle, winky face. Since travel plans are sometimes made months in advance and might need to fit together perfectly, screwing over customers only a few days before their travel isn't something to brag about. I'm going to disagree here. If there's a reservation, it should be honored. Yes, sometimes that might be physically impossible if people are returning cars late. But I think it should be law that if a reservation can't be maintained by rental cars or overnight lodging, they have to reimburse the customer 150% of the value. Too many places plan poorly or leverage their fleet to the hilt without any thoughts for a buffer in case things go badly because they can just refuse to honor reservations. No phones, alright. I apologize beforehand if this is wordy or badly written first time doing this. I work in a small restaurant, no more than 15 employees. The manager doesn't care if you check your phone as long as all your work is done and it's slow, like 2 customers type deal. I rarely ever check my phone during these times and like just listening to audiobooks and generally being left alone. And keep in mind, I'm a dishwasher/prep cook. I work all the way in the back where nobody can see me, customer wise. We have another prep cook, he'll keep as M. She's older and used to work in New York kitchens. She's quite short, so she asks me to get things off the top shelves for her from time to time, even though she's extremely rude about it and will actively throw what I can only explain as elderly temper tantrums when you don't do as she says the very second she says it. I start getting tired of her treating me rudely and stop going completely out of my way to help her if I'm busy at that moment. Suddenly my boss starts receiving these calls that customers are complaining that me, the guy who works all the way in the back, is on my phone all day, and after every time this happens he comes in all grinny and smiling the next day. This goes on for several weeks until my boss confiscates everyone's phones at the start of the day because of too many complaints, except M's because she works on the days my boss is off, so she doesn't know she keeps hers. Now I'm a pretty resilient when it comes to people's bullshit, but when M starts following me out to my car in the morning, follow me inside, and stare at me while I'm taking off my coat/doing stuff before clock and arms crossed, demanding I give her my phone, and bangs on the bathroom door when I'm using it while shaking the knob, and she clearly knows she has my phone since she just harassed me about it all morning. Okay. But where's yours? I say virtually every single day, with nothing as response but her shaking her hand at me. Alright. So I overhear her brother has been in the hospital lately, and she's pretty much walking around the restaurant on her phone the entire day, every day. But the rule is everyone must comply? Yes? The cabinet she keeps everyone's phones and locks shut at a button, and you need the key to open it, so when M went out for her morning smoke, I simply tossed it in the cabinet, moved everyone else's into a different cabinet, and then the one I tossed hers and locked it closed, knowing fully well, my boss has the only key and won't be back for at least a few days. I have never seen a fully grown woman go apeshit tearing down a restaurant looking for their phone that rapidly in my life. She eventually stormed over to me and demanded I tell her where her phone is, after searching and virtually tearing open every countertop and shelf. I told her I put it with the rest of them, and the look on her face was priceless as she realized she doesn't have a key. She's screaming at me now, asking why I did that. While you follow me around all day saying I need to follow the rules, I figure you should start setting a good example and do it yourself. I smile and get back to work quietly, pretty much listening to her kick and bang on the metal cabinet. Never knew what happened after that, except she follows the rule closely now and doesn't bother me anymore. Laughing face. There is no reality in all the multiverse in which I would turn my phone over to my boss. Absolutely not. And I would laugh in their face if they asked me to. So you want me to hand over a $1,000 phone? I'm gonna need some collateral for the device plus all the information stored within. Give me $10,000 to hold on to until you give it back. Sound good? I don't have one. It's true too. The only phone he could possibly mean is the company-issued one. If she wasn't your boss, why did you give her your phone to lock up? She was probably the acting boss when regular boss is out. Unfortunately, this is often what happens. Sorry, but why would you give your phone to anyone unless you're a minor and it's one of your parent asking? Not being on your phone doesn't mean you are entitled to confiscate everyone's phone for the day. WTF is wrong with people complying with these kind of requests? If you drive to work, why not keep your phone in the car? I don't think it's ever a good idea to leave something valuable in your car. Even if it's just an empty bag or purse with nothing valuable inside, you might find your car window broken. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.